Tonight, the major series in its Pacific region heads to Germany for a little known place called the Nordschleifer. The 1967 German Grand Prix is in focus as second split action gets set to go here on Grid Vision. I'm Justin Prince alongside me, Lorenzo Bonder, Austin Derbyshire producing once more as we get set to go racing with some Lotus 49s. To say the very least, Lorenzo, today expected to be intense.
It's going to be intense. I love the fact that we're running the 49s, one of the most, I would say, groundbreaking cars for the 60s, 70s in racing in a venue that fit the car very much. And love to see how the 49 and cars work with the FV engine rather, is going to tackle the 20-something kilometers off the German track.
And in turn, with it being such a big track, drivers are getting set for what's expected to be a wild 15-lapper here from Germany. They've spent the past few weeks trying to get the preparations down, and most of the screenshots provided by the drivers, funnily enough, involve cars either going two wheels into the sky or crashing into an Armco barrier. The challenges expected to be surreal today. As the drivers get themselves ready to go, keep in mind pre-qualification happening in the weeks leading up to today. The drivers are getting ready for the standing start. Let's see how they'll start today. It's Shane Vickery who will start on the pole today in the 27th, and it's Jay Becker alongside. Row number 2 is Mark Santana, followed by Joshua Wolf. Keep an eye on Wolf, he's one of the possible favorites. Brenton Foster should say, starting alongside Jimbo Pfeiffer, followed by Sebastian Jackson and Gavin Barber. Nick Kuhn alongside Stuart Elder, your top 10, Lorenzo.
Absolutely. We're going to go now. William Fletcher, Wayne Taylor for 11 and 12. Robert Northway, Bryce Roberts on the 7th row. Then we got to go Troy Anderson, Mike Wagner in 8th row. Then Ryan Steele, Joshua Thomas in 17th and 18th. And the top 20, Justin, ends up with Brian McGreevy and Jake Fox.
Starting right in the middle of a corner for the standing start, Brett Trozen and Wayne Hutchinson, Chris Sherburne and Timothy Klaus round out your grid. With that being said, the drivers are ready. The standing starts rolling. We're racing from the Nürburgring. And already Shane Vickery off to a running start 2x2 as they work their way through the Nordschleifer and crash already. Well, that lasted all of 10 seconds. There goes a good 2/3 of your field.
Ooh, can they survive the whole ordeal though? They managed to break, but 1/3 of the field already just gone, just like that. It barely lasted 2 turns. Drew Otzenbach here, Justin.
Perfect time to go to our keys to victory. I think they already lost the first one.
Yeah. Well, our keys to victory over here are really simple. You know, the first one, like you said, don't fear the forest. You know, the forest, even though it is big, you're driving around the, you know, at an hour and everything. It can bite you. It is just don't normally drive through it. So don't fear it. It will reward you if you know how to drive it. Mind the curves. The curves over here, they're deadly if you catch them the wrong way, especially the ones that don't have a lot of leeway off the exit. Like you go just on the entry over here at Kiribakahoa. And the last one, and most importantly, choose your fights wisely. What I mean about choosing your fights wisely here, Justin, well, it's a big track, 20 kilometers, but there's not too many turns you can go around side by side and thinking you can actually get away with it going side by side. So if you're going to make an overtake, just make sure you stick to that overtake and seal the deal.
Now with that crash that just happened, by the way, 5 different drivers with meatball flags, many more towing. Sebastian Jackson, Josh Wolf, Mark Santana, Wayne Taylor, Jimbo Pfeiffer, all collected and have to, at the very least, enter the pit lane to be able to take the one fast repair available. That being said, Shane Vickery, along with Jay Becker and Brenton Foster, the only ones to get through cleanly. They've got a 10-second cushion because of that crash.
And I think they can pretty much relax for the time being. Normally, that's what you would expect, right, Justin? You think, oh, okay, we got 10 seconds, but no. Like I said, don't fear the forest. Drive it normally, but be sure that any mistake here in the Nürburgring Forest is pretty much a rain safe.
So split to action, so far so wild to say the very least. And when it comes to this racing, this is a big time for Shane Vickery. He hasn't been able to get a victory, surprisingly, yet in terms of the sports silver side to help him get some point differential. Austin O'Neill, mind you, had a near 100-point advantage coming in. A start like this and already setting the best time in pre-qualification for this split by at least 3/10. Good ways to try and hit your strides to try and get your first win of the year.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. If you're gonna get your stuff correct and you want to go for the win, this is probably one of the tracks for you to do it. The combination is really good. It just drives phenomenally. I really want to go back when it was on the Grand Prix Legend days and drive around this track because this car just flows, Justin. So I think Shane Vickery found himself stranded with the car, and now the thing is, can he hold for 15 laps?
Now, one of the major things as you look around the various battles around the racetrack is going to be just the expected sheer amount of pit stops. The race time, just in case, is 3 hours. Not expecting to go 3 hours. That being said, the fuel very likely not going to last more than a few laps. This circuit, when it comes to this layout, utilized the 1960s. 14.17 miles. So expecting lap times around the 6 to 8 minute bracket, depending on the confidence level.
Yeah,
that's a lot of lap.
That is a lot of lap. It's of course it was the longest Grand Prix in the entire F1 calendar. I don't think it was the longest one. I think Rouen might have been just as close. I don't know, Rouen, Les Essard was just as big, but I think this probably hasn't beat. But nevertheless, it's a good track. So I think they're gonna be making like what, give or take 5 pit stops over here, Justin, throughout the whole field.
Give or take, especially with a race like this. We're already in the afternoon sunshine as you take a look at right now the second pack essentially on your screen. A lot of those drivers we talked about fall back towards where Thomas, where Elder, Northway are currently running. Now 18 seconds back. That's how quick the top three's confidence levels are and speed in their cars are. But it takes a special talent to drive this car because a lot of focus for the classic racing goes to the Lotus 79.
Yeah.
It's a very niche and tight-knit community in the first place on the service, but the 49s.
Yeah, the 49 is a true driver's car, right? You don't have the ground effect and the downforce that is generated on 79 when he came out. And Colin Chapman, I think that was his last Price piece before he passed away in 1982. But this car just, if it has big wheels, so you have kind of like a big archway in terms of lenience, but if you just get it wrong just a tad bit, and if it slides, it's hard, it's basically a trip to the wall, so you have to be careful with your inputs the entire time.
And with that balance, that leaves one of the major things I've noticed here amongst your top runners so far. Remember the big crash? Nick Kuhn was amongst those who got through. Somehow the 19 is still in fourth without a front engine cover and other decent bits of damage on that race car. He is extremely lucky after starting ninth and basically having literally driving through as his drivers behind him start to scrap.
Yeah, that's Joshua Thomas fighting now for 7th place. He was one of the lucky ones that actually got away without that any injuries or anything like that during the big one on Hotzenbach. So now the thing is, ride the draft. You're probably going to be stuck up with other drivers going side by side here on Dudding and Hoa. So lap number one is about to finish. And you were mentioning about Kuhn. Hey, Justin, if you lose a little some kilos in your car, you're not going to mind that, aren't you? It's always performance packs.
I mean, the lighter the car, the better the car. But at the same time, on iRacing, the lighter the car, the faster the car, but the bits you likely lose to make your car lighter are the speed bits that, might make the engine run, stuff like that. As Thomas has to come in. And that is interesting. Already a lap in and already a pit stop for the 386.
I think he took a fast repair here, Justin, from what it looks like.
Now that's interesting to do that in just a lap. He did not have a meatball flag as change for the lead, just about. That's Foster and Vickery going back and forth on lap 2 already.
Yeah, down Kitabacahoa and going up Flutplatz where the car is going to go slightly airborne. You can see even the jump and maintain that car. And the track is a little bit of a challenge. So Vickery so far managing to hold the number 8 of Foster, and now Jay Becker not far behind as well, looking for a piece of the pie. If 6.6 seconds is the gap from first to third.
And for those curious, yes, his first letter and only part of the name for Jay Becker in his first ever major start is just the letter J. So when it comes to Becker, give him credit. Welcome to the Major Series. You're throwing right to the deep end for a chance to battle for the lead, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder how aggressive. I don't think he's going aggressively right now. He's just playing, the patient doctor right here, seeing what is going to happen between Vickery and Foster. So if any of them make a little bit of a blunder, a mistake, or even a crash, that he can actually take advantage with. Hey, all opportunities are given for those who earn it. So let's see what is going to happen in the next few laps, in the next few turns as well.
By the way, for those tuning in and wondering, where are my favorite drivers? Well, 3 drivers are still in the midst of towing. Ryan Steele just went on a tow truck. He was running 15th before a crash just moments ago. Mark Santana still in the tow truck, 8 minutes in because they crashed a good, 13 miles from the start and finish line. And Wayne Taylor also in the same boat. Now, for the reason that Ryan Steele is amongst those down in the pit lane, just had a crash on his second lap, running around 15th with a mistake to the wall. Those mistakes expected to happen a lot today, as we touched upon. And if you aren't able to get that comfortability with the grip levels, even push a touch bit too much, your car likely going to go bye-bye here and fast.
Yeah, it's not actually a bye-bye. We're mostly going to say Auf Wiedersehen, right? Since we're in Germany. Therefore, they have to be mindful every turn. Oh. And so far, not a death right here.
You know who just had one, though? And part of the reason I think the 80, Timothy Clouch, just crashed in the heart of the pack. No contact with our cars at the very least, so that might have been... It was just perfectly timed, Renzo, with the voice pitch. Let's take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. Going Clouds around Piff Path, just hits the inside of the curb, outside, manages to just come back on the track, but mind that rejoin, nearly killing the 944 apparently from Drosen, and just a very sad moment for the driver right there. And I think that was your pick, isn't it, Justin? Didn't you pick Clouds prior to the broadcast start?
No, that was Austin Derbyshire's pick.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the producer's curse remains undefeated, just like the commentator's curse.
Yep.
Well, that being... Well, it is worth noting that Darby did get 2 right coming into today. We did all do picks coming in, believe. Let's see what our picks were. So, mine was Vickery. What was yours again?
I picked Hutchinson.
Wayne Hutchinson currently running in the 11th spot from 22nd to 11th. And Darby's? Apparently, funnily enough, the pick that he chose so happens to not be showing up. Even though, I can definitely tell you, it was Timothy Clouds.
I think that was a sabotage right there. Justin, he doesn't want to show up, and truly embarrassed with the fact that he might not go 3 for 3 right here.
Well, it's already guaranteed at this point because he has to come in for a fast repair. Now, if we head back towards the front here, Foster and Vickery have essentially started to really set the tempo. It's worth noting on the racetrack in the 27 and the 11. Becker's still in the drag compared to some of the others that have managed to go on their own on circuit. So with that being said, in this type of a situation here, Roberto, you're talking about needing to keep up with their group, and so far that seems to be the great case for your top 3. For the others, what's going to the mind? We're talking inside the top 10, 29, 30-second gaps already.
Yeah, so those who are trying to catch up to people or majorly are driving on their own around Nordschleife is like I said, don't fear the forest. But the thing is, you cannot overdrive the forest. It's very easy for you to overdrive the forest. I think we've not only just seen it racing, but we've seen it in track days and plenty of times that this track can be just brutal for those who make even the slightest mistakes. So just keep your head in tow, mind the mistakes that you're probably going to do, keep the car on the track, and maybe you might get rewarded with someone crashing. They have to tow it back to the pit lane, and all freebies are, like I said, freebies. So just take them.
Looks like a change up at the front because that's the Doniger Hoa you just seen the swap for your race leader. It's now a double tow, though, for Jay Becker. Looking for the lead for the first time today in a very interesting choice of car, paint, and number. He's all in for the memes. He's all into the race lead now.
Blaze it, my friend. Just blaze it.
With the tact of a butter knife, good sir.
Yep, 100%.
So Becker up to the point. Foster still riding behind here. And that kind of already circumvents the point of seeing at least stops within 2 laps like you see in, say, I don't know, like some of the Jettas or Miatas of modern day. A little bit more better on the fuel traction and for the fuel stints at least for these drivers right now. That being considered here, Becker had been waiting in the popcorn seat, essentially behind the top 2 as they started scrapping for the first 2 laps, says, you know what, why not?
You go for 2 for 1. What better thing you could ask for? You know, you caught both Foster and Vickery sleeping, and just decided to ride the toe on the outside and managed to make the overtake. Foster also not a slouch as well. I think he took advantage of the fact that the 420 was actually managing to overtake Vickery and Foster as well. If you're going for that movement, I'm going as well, and managed to seal the deal from second to second place, even though the big thing is you don't have Vickery in front of you.
Interestingly enough, just double check in the background. When it comes to Jay Becker, he has a lot of experience, funnily enough, in the Full Send Racing Association. Very fitting in terms of how he sent it for the race lead, but also all his experience in the league scene, or at least a majority of it, is in oval equipment. Not really a background on the roadside in the league scene coming into tonight.
Well, it does prove that people that usually do oval stuff can turn right as well.
There's been a very big skyrocketing of that, you can very much argue, because in oval, you can only go so far before you have to start, some will say, protecting your I rating, protecting how your car's running, be able to try and find different balances. Because the oval side, if you're trying to move up that rank, you still have to run a fair amount of road these days in a stock car. Why not gain experience in the road by running road? That's based on the profiles, what he's done, much the way we're in officials, while he hasn't gotten to the levels of oval in terms of the win column, runs a lot of road, it looks like, to get that experience down, Jay Becker.
That is really good, you know, and I think touching on that point, we've seen that in not just esports, but also real sports, right? You've seen Xfinity, more American-based sports, right? You've seen Xfinity starting to do more road tracks and the trucks as well. Now the NASCAR Cup Series slowly making that transition as well. Now that it's starting to have a little bit of an international movement with Shane Van Gisbergen, and eventually Brody Kostecki is going to drive as well. So you got more and more drivers coming in. I think we even saw.
Oh, hold on. You just see that too? Becker just about jumped into the grass. Not the type of grass he wants to jump into right now.
No, and there's no rally cross layouts over here for you to take, Justin.
And it gets exactly to, oh, there's a wide moment again. Becker is really playing with fire now.
It's basically the 0 to 0 progression, isn't it? he's playing with that movement and you know, just like that. Like I said, 0 to hero or hero to 0. And the one thing you don't want to go in a race like this, so closely contested, is the hero to 0.
Coming up to Doniger Hohen now in the next few corners, by the way. Foster already is in prime position to strike. The second he's able to get a run here. Foster, for Mega Race Team, came in today, 5th in the pre-qualification, yet to get a win as well in his career, but he has been racing in the majors for about 3 seasons coming into this campaign. Has done very well though, at least 3 to 4 top 5s per season in his splits.
That's a good average if you want to, if you consider how many events majors has ran through its years.
Vickery losing a little bit of time. I almost wonder if he's trying to go with the Jay Becker method soon, where as long as you keep it in the second, you're good. You get a double toe, and as long as you're far enough back to capitalize on the double toe, but also close enough to make a pass, it's not that bad. So long as Vickery keeps it close within a second.
But the thing is, I think he's struggling, especially on this third sector. It's kind of funny. Normally, we would nominate tracks by the sectors, like Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3. I honestly thought he was going to hit the wall right there, but managed to keep it away as they go into the Stefan Belafes here, Justin. I think he's just being more conservative, you know, just want to keep the car on the track. There's still a long race left. You still have to contend with a few pit stops on the way, so don't risk it until you can actually go for it in the final 2 laps maybe, and see if you're still going to be within contention while the rest of the guys in front of you are just simply pushing and nearly, like I said, nearing the tread of death and glory.
You want to be in position to be able to fight. Speaking of those, trying to get in position to fight. This is currently the battle for the top 5. Bryce Roberts from 13th to 5th. And Mike Wagner says, thank you very much. I'll just make the pass.
Yeah, easily.
That had to have been a slowdown if he sent it that much, though.
Either that or you made a massive blunder on the climb carousel. So the small carousel, it's easy for you to make a mistake on the entry. If you make a mistake just on the entry and you catch the outside slope of the carousel, you're basically going to lose a lot of speed. As Joshua Thomas, I think his car is slow through Golgankopf. What happened?
He's already used a fast repair. Yeah, he hit the wall, and that might be the end. The Kingsman Racing Machine, remember, early in this one, took the fast repair from the top 5, and that's why you don't use it early.
Yeah, just unfortunate. It might be a race over here, Justin, as they go to Golgankopf. The problem, you had so many cars right behind them coming in real quick. And Schwabelschwanz, you know, just claiming one of the victims already early on in this race.
Robert Northway also coming in, by the way, to get the fast repair taken right now. So most of the drivers who took the tow are back in the race on good measure. Santana and Taylor took almost 10 minutes to tow their cars. Here's a look at Wayne Hutchinson. He's 11th, up 11 so far. The Canadian doing, or the Northwest region driver more so is the better phrasing these days, is doing everything needed to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just drive to survive. That's the spirit for you to go around Nordschleife. Just wondering, did Becker pit because I saw the gap like skyrocket for Vickery and Foster and Becker at one
Becker's
point.
crashed. You're right, Becker is not pit, but he's hit a wall because he no longer has an engine cover. He was running second to start the lap. Let's take a look, because he's had a few slides, including one hard into the wall that's cost him the engine cover.
Oof.
And then a few corners later, he did the same, and somehow no meatball flag. But we do have a meatball flag for another leader. The 11, just moments ago, just crashed. Brenton Foster, after that incident, had a crash on his own and broke an axle.
Oh, Flugplatz just claim its first victim.
So your top three has just imploded. The only one of the top three not to crash yet is Vickery.
Like, I think the forest is fighting back.
Doesn't
I
it
said don't.
always?
It always fights back. Like I said, don't fear the forest, but that forest bites you whenever you're not paying attention or you don't want to fight back, and that's rather unfortunate. We were due to see a great battle for top three, but that is taken away from us for the time being.
You know the funny thing, one of the more detailed track maps for this version of the Nordschleifer, what the Industria Forten layout is from Reddit, believe it or not, in terms of where the best places are to
Yeah.
take photos. Would you believe 2/3 of the track is either not good for photos or do not access it or not accessible?
I mean, I would believe that. I think there's only a few places like over here at Exmula. Exmula might be one place. I think maybe at an hour. I know there's a lot of spectators when they go to the 24 Flugplatz is another corner. Maybe Hotzenbach is another one. Then after that, you probably go to Bergwerk, the Carousel, potentially. And then you go all the way down to Brüchen, which is the famous corner that everybody just loves to crash on the track day. So, yeah, I totally believe you.
Yeah, funnily enough, they marked as flute plots. One side, obviously, you have trees and cliffside. The other side, not good for photos in flute plots. It's good if you like crashes, but if you want the visibility, the main points, at least in the conversation of the photo world, is that carousel in Flansgarden, especially if you want pictures into turn one to start the lap. But that being said, we're almost a third of the way through. At least two modifieds trying to keep track position. Becker, despite the crash, he's holding back the run of Nick Kuhn, who is in the similar position of without an engine cover. And both of them appear to be trying to stretch it until the pit stop starts to open up their window to take the fast repair instead of take it now.
Yeah, and just keep him also not only Kuhn is being kept at bay, but also Vickery is being kind of like kept at bay. Backer is catching up despite the straight cover up in the front, so I'm slightly
Ow.
surprised about that.
You said lighter's faster, but I mean, the engine covers a speed bit here. You would think.
Is that the engine cover though? If I remember correctly, the Cosworth DFV engine is in the back.
Oh, or I should say the front suspension cover. It still covers something.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think for the drivers, you're gonna appreciate the fact that it's gonna be air cooled up in the front, so you're gonna receive something. As there you go, Derby just showcasing us a little bit of the front part for you, Justin. You can see the suspension's making a little bit of movement, and also some of the blocks that keep the car in place working in as well, and the radiator up in the front just cooling that car with the addition of the wind in front of your face.
And there's that engine you're talking about. And a lot of cars these days have the front engine, but the rear engine, you got to appreciate the beauty of a V8 and the look of this Ford Cosworth block. You can already see the moving parts, the details put in. They've improved the details a lot as of late with the new damage model as well to add more versatility and ability for these parts to fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it showcases more how the engineering of the car goes around, because these cars, um, they were very similar to the traditional road cars. Of course, the big thing is you had the big engine in the back. You had basically a lighter frame that, of course, we know from the 40s to the 70s, or 40 to 60. That was probably the 50s to the 70s. That was the most dangerous era of F1, right? Where if you had a crash, it was pretty much death, right? And just showcases the courage of these drivers, to be so unprotected but willing to drive to the very limit of it the entire time.
So as we continue to square things away for today's racing, as we're past a third of the way through this race, and keep an eye on the McGreevy versus Barber battle on racetrack, I'd like to remind you as they make their way up the long straightaway that today's action is brought to you in support, as well charity-wise, by Beyond Blue. We're here for you. Your mental health is important. Some days are better than others, and we all need a helping hand from time to time. To learn more about the charity being supported by the Major Series this round, go to beyondblue.org.au. There's that move we were just talking about between those two. Barber absolutely running away with that draft, by the way. We're talking about 10, 15 miles an hour with the toe. So as the run continues, we'll take a very quick break. When we come back, pit stops around the corner. You're watching the Major Series. It's second split for the Pacific region here from Grid Vision.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work, so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Germany, where cars continue to explode and implode. Here around the Nordschleifer, Justin Prince, Renzo Bonner, and Jarvis Sharp producing. Let's take a look at some of the lowlights. First, it's Nick Kuhn. This time, he breaks the car here.
Ooh, Hudson Bach, and the car just basically, if it wasn't a goner back then, is it a goner now?
Then, another driver coming into the pit lane in turn. Believe that was Wayne Taylor's situation. But then it's a scary one with McGreevy as well, because he had some contacts to the wall. This is indeed McGreevy. And then after this, hits the wall again and then stopped on the racetrack, Lorenzo.
Let me see through the replay. Oh, right after Brusen, not Brusen, but you just come out of Bergwerk and you stop right in the middle of the track. This portion, you cannot stop in the middle of the track. It is just dangerous.
So he's already hit the wall. That broke part of the suspension. After that initial hit, car says bye-bye. It finally here. And then here's where it gets dangerous. Coming full throttle, Chris Sherburne is coming up the straight. Right in front of a whole pack.
Wow. Yeah, not the best display over there of racecraft, but what matters, everybody got away unscathed. And one more death, and that's a 934 of Wayne. I think that's Wayne Taylor again, that has had a massive crash on fluke plots.
And that might be his race done. Brett Trojan just a few moments ago also had an incident. Let's see what happened here. That was actually the most calm one.
Yep. I thought he was gonna be able to save it on ice curve, but nope. Just ice and wall.
So a lot of attrition building up. Shane Victory has made no mistakes so far, though. He leads right now in lap 6. Already under 10 laps to go. The gap more than 4 seconds over Jay Becker. Of note, Becker likely to use the faster pair when the pit stops come in the next lap or two. Vickery, very much so, has avoided damage. Mike Wagner, with everything going on, has shuffled to 3rd. Bryce Roberts still in 4th. You know who's in 5th despite the faster pair? Robert Northway, 40 seconds back. Oh my goodness, he nearly just bounced his way off the track.
I think we gotta start avoiding calling names over here, Justin, just for the sake of we don't want to kill them.
Yeah, that was a bold time to just go fly away into the sky. I think his front tires keep losing grip to the track.
Yeah, I think they're taking the Frank Sinatra away, Fly Away With Me song way too literally right now.
Fly me to the moon. Some words I don't remember anymore. He's nearly flying his way to space.
I swear to God, I'm gonna clip this.
He has already picked up a win this season in his previous 2 starts. But if he manages to gain some time here, he's the fastest car on the track outside of Vickery, by the way. It would be something. He's 39 seconds behind the leader. The pace he's running is quicker than everybody except for Vickery.
But it's nearly on par with what Vickery is actually putting, which is slightly surprising in my opinion.
But at the same time, I mean, at the rate things are going, he might quickly catch up to Bryce Roberts in the next lap.
True.
Roberts, for reference, is running times on average 3 to 6 seconds off.
So there's a good chance you're going to see the bad last lap is a 652.8 for the number 21 car. You can see right at the back of the frame, there's Northway coming in real quick, 646.0. It is last lap, also best lap in the race with the highest speed of 114 miles per hour, which is the thing to think about. There's about 180 kilometers per hour in the average speed when you clock it, but nevertheless, you can see Northway. I would even estimate, Justin, he might actually catch at the end of this lap, depending on circumstances of going after the carousel.
Yeah, that gap is still maintaining around 3 seconds. Again, looking at the track details and the weather conditions right now, the track itself actually came in pretty hot. It's at 89 degrees Fahrenheit right now. That temperature for reference about 32 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty toasty. Not as toasty as it can be, but it is still fairly warm with partly cloudy skybox.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nürburgring, Germany right now, it's right in the middle, I think, of the portion of where the track would be at its hottest or close to its hottest. So there's a good chance, I think, by the end of the race, we're going to see that 32-degree on the track, maybe, climbing up to maybe 35, 36, depending on circumstances of the time of day. Even though ambient temperature is not at its highest, I think it's one of the slowest actually for this portion of the championship.
We are actually in some time is my birthday, August 6th, 2024.
Nice. You wanted me to say happy birthday, even though it is not actually your birthday, but you want to feel happy that it's actually your in-game birthday?
I mean, I stopped posting on my birthday for a reason. After all, I'll say what I said for C-Fix this week. I'm ageless after all. I love how people thought that was a Fortnite reference. And
Oh.
somebody's tire just left them. That was Jimbo Pfeiffer, it looks like. Troy Anderson's also had a crash. Let's see what happened here. And I think they may have collided.
Ooh.
There's one. And hello.
Ow.
So Jimbo Pfeiffer's parked it. Troy Anderson, obviously, with the toe.
Troy being played with the Achilles heel arrow, so that's a little bit unfortunate.
I mean, very much so. And then the tire on top of that says, you know what? I'm good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I cannot find the proper explanation for the tire runaway except that the link has kind of been broken.
So Jimbo Pfeiffer and Wayne Taylor both out of the race. It looks like officially, at the very least, Taylor will be trying to get some of the repairs done. Vickery, we'll see if he comes in after 6 laps. Going to keep going to the halfway point at least. So already looking good for a one-stopper on the gas. Quite simply, not expecting any rain, so not expecting any tire compound swaps, to say the very least, like in the 1960s and 70s. But we are, by the looks of it, going to have just the one fuel stop.
Interesting. Meanwhile, Northway, remember when I said he was going to catch up to Roberts at the end of the lap? There you go. He just barely catched up to the number 21, going around the exit off Tiergarten, going to Hohenrhein, and going to open up lap number 7. But what a lap from Northway.
He did actually lose time to the overall leader, but he did pick up the time he needed to at least gain a spot. Don't overshoot it, why don't you? Northway getting a little bit optimistic right now with these deep lunges.
Yeah, and the one thing that you cannot overstate over here is braking this car, because there is no high-performance brake. It's insane to think about. This is actually an ordinary brake. You know, this is a drum brake. Therefore, these brakes are eventually worn off and become very sensitive, so they cannot be over, I'm not going to say over, but have a stone feet on the brake pedal. So have to tap it mildly and then just kind of cruise it around the corner.
As some will very much say, brake fade. One of the things iRacing's really worked a lot on as of late. Northway makes the pass to the right side. Roberts lets him go.
Good work from the 943 though. Good progress he's made. Question is, can he reach Wagner? 12 seconds separate him from Mike Wagner right now in 3rd place, and they still have to contend with pit stops and everything.
That's going to be easier said than done because it's a 1-3 for Evolve. Wagner is the other half of that, essentially, if you match up the color schemes. And Wagner, mind you, was amongst those who picked up some damage. In fact, he's got a lot of front nose damage with all the elevation changes. Right now, this could be a big day for the team side at the very least, for this side of the card, if you can believe that or argue that.
Yeah, 100%. But there's still half of the problem is you cannot celebrate just yet. There's still half of a race left. If it was any other track, Justin, maybe you would argue, oh, okay, maybe we're on the green zone. We can kind of like relax a little bit and just bring the car to the finish. But no, this is the Nordschleife. You cannot relax for one bit. You have to be on your toes every single lap that you go on.
Now, for reference, they are classified as part of the Pro Series for points this season for the team side. Enter today Evolve Sim Sports and this side of Evolve in the top 5. Just a few points out from Middle Finger Racing. Right now, if they're able to race like this, depending on what's going on in top split, might be able to jump to 4 despite having 2 of their top drivers in this split. So Wagner just rolling it calmly and surely around the racetrack for the time being. Lap traffic is starting to come in. In fact, it's to the point where if you look at some of the error groupings on track, it's to the point where drivers are saying from a second ahead, seeing a car coming up and fast and saying, I'm going to pull over. Gavin Barber just had Stuart Elder do that. A couple other drivers have indicated, I don't want to hold you up and fight you. I'll just let you go if you're close.
So basically, it kind of becomes of a track day feeling. You know, you see the faster car, just, you know, blinker to the right. I'm just, you know, I'm going to the right, Just stay on the right lane and let the faster car go by.
It goes back to the thought process with the Green Hell. Race the track, not the cars around you. If you get too busy racing the cars, you forget that you're at the Green Hell, and the Green Hell will turn it into a not so greenish time afterwards for you. Keep an eye and glance on some of the other cars, by the way, as this goes on. Wayne Hutchinson checking back in on him. Right now, good cushion over Sebastian Jackson. And picking up some tempo. Jackson, for reference, you see him back around here. He has lost a spot this lap already to William Fletcher.
Yeah, but Fletcher not being able to break away this time, though, even though he did a 6:58 this lap. Actually, he was caught up by Fletcher from
Yeah.
what it looks like. Sorry, Jackson, rather, in that space.
And that's a mistake by Fletcher. He misses the whole banking. Jackson back to the spot. And if anything, that's really slowed him down on confidence and flow. Fletcher really backing it down after that mistake.
Yeah, it's slightly unfortunate, but it's kind of weird to talk about it. Nordschleife being a track that has a flow, right? Because you're dealing with how many turns in Nordschleife? About 148 something curves.
154 is the layout number of Prix Racing.
Oh, okay. So it's still a lot of turns, and it's kind of crazy to think about 154 turns, but all these 154 turns, they have a little bit of a flow and motion into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and to get that flow right, absolutely can come down to, you could really say, Renzo, to not just memorization, but muscle memory.
Yeah.
If you don't have the practice put in, you are not going to have a fun time. There's a reason, like when they bring the 24 hours of Nürburgring here with the arena section, the modern day layout on top of the Nordschleife, it takes 2 weeks minimum to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. You even need a special license to race around the Nürburgring, which is insane to think about. You need to know the rules, the grooves and things like that, and then be able to run a full lap and a full race around the Nordschleife before you're even considered eligible to race in the track like this. And it's one of the most, what is it? I would say rigorous and toughest license for you to acquire in motorsport nowadays.
By the way, pit stop already for Becker. He's elected to split the race in half with the faster pair. Only had a 2-second stop. So he still holds on to the spot for the time being, just past the cross flags. And that's the funny thing about anybody who has had to pit here. You're talking about 11 to 12 seconds max in the pit lane.
Yeah. Which is very fast for 1960 purposes.
So as things cycle about here, I'd like to remind you that today's action is brought to you in part by Majors Garage. Unlock your racing potential with Majors Garage. Are you ready to experience iRacing to the next level? No, don't look further than them. Majors Garage is your ultimate destination for top-notch iRacing setups and expert coaching. Pro-level setups, tailored coaching, along with proven success, personalized coaching, and community support. Are you ready to rev up your racing journey? Take advantage of our exclusive promotions and discounts at majorsgarage.com now. Drive with confidence, race with Majors Garage. And the interesting thing about the Majors Garage, to touch upon that real quickly, is you're talking about a platform that essentially a lot of the drivers in this series rely upon if they don't have experience building a car for, say, a Lotus 49.
Yeah, actually, it is one of the few garages, if not one of the two garages from the top of my head, that still build setups for the Lotus 49. So it's good to see there's still, a market they're exploring for these cars. And I know there's a very dedicated community of Lotus 49 with drivers that love to race these cars. Not just in the Nordschleife, but on many other tracks that you have in the iRacing service. So good to know that they still provide that.
Just been informed, new fastest lap on the racetrack. Foster setting it downside. He said already is a faster pair, so instead of battling for the race lead with this tempo, he's 13th, more than 2.5 minutes back.
Which is insane to think about. He is all the way down to the back and doing these flying laps. It just shows how treacherous this track can be. By the way, I was seeing at one point backers' advantage to victory as they fly around fluke plots was like 17 seconds, and now just skyrockets to 19 seconds. There's a roller coaster of gaps. So wonder what happened to Backer to allow that gap to extend so much in just a few quarters or seconds, just like that.
Well, remember, he did pit already in terms of getting the repairs done. So that's part of that. Two, he was 3 seconds slower last time by on the outlap. At the very minimum, Becker looks to be in line for second.
Yeah, true, unless the force says no. And people are gonna blame, oh, commentators curse, commentators curse. Yeah, sometimes it just happens like that.
It
What can you
happens
do?
when you wish it into existence, Lorenzo.
True. It's like I said, you probably know me, Justin. You know me well enough for me to say I'm the king and the emperor of yellow flags. I'm not the king of commentators curse. That I think could reside with another commentator, but I'm right over there on the talking of being the biggest one to, talk about of having commentators curse.
So, as they get set up. Oh, that's what that strip is. Yes, Grid Vision, for reference, in the past month or so has had some updates to the graphic pack, including, did you know that if you're watching alone and want to see your iRacing or YouTube username up on the shining lights of a small gray strip, you can be like our producer and say, I've never heard of this course.
Yeah,
I
so
give
the
it
guy that
I
so
give
the
it
guy
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Oh, Justin, you're way too docile on that 5 minutes. I'll give it even less than that, 3 minutes. Plus, it says the individual who actually cursed out a driver at the early portion of the race, doesn't it?
You were like picking on Darby, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, at least you admitted it. Oh, that's well. Sherburne, let's go towards some of the errors here and give some spotlights to Sherburne, for example. Or to a couple of the others as they rip around the circuit here. Drivers like Sherburne have done well in terms of survival. In fact, 23rd to 11th after nearly having a car stop right in the middle of the road. 007 doing well on his mission of don't be a part of the cars on the tow truck list.
Nice reference. I'll tell you that. You know his performance so far with this. What can you call this? I like the throwback livery. This is a very classic livery with the stripes. That was basically BRM-esque or even Lotus-esque when Lotus used to run the traditional green and gold, or I think BRM used to run like a red and gray or something like that. It's too long for me to remember. It was back then, like 1960s. I have to Google that up to be confirming about that. But nevertheless, good to see these old liveries showing up and throwing homage to the 1960s racing you had around F1.
And even more so, you can argue, at the very least, getting, if you're a part of a team like Sector 5, like Sherburne is, at least make it to where it's not the modern day font. Go all in on the throwback. That's a big thing. You can go
Yes.
halfway, part way, none of the way, or all in, like Sherburne, where instead of its more sleeker 1990s, mid 2000s look on a font, they went full on, let's do Army style stencil for Sector.
I can dig it. I have no problem with that. Don't get me wrong. We know the best font. You might disagree with me on this, Justin, but we always know the best font usually is Comic Sans. But
No,
oh, come on, Justin. What are you talking about? Comic Sans is always the best font. But anyway, yours is the best throwback font you can actually throw to in the 60s.
I know one of the graphic designers for SRX made sure to emphasize anything that was an aardvark slant right was an atrocity to numbers.
Fair.
I mean, people get really defensive on fonts after all. I mean, Joey Tevin in PRL competition.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
I don't know if our producer's seen this as well, where, or anyone, many might have seen. How about a tribute car to Times New Roman?
Yes.
That car finished decent a couple times. But so far, so decent as we're already 2/3 of the way through, by the way, at the next lap. Vickery is just taking off.
Yeah, he's dominating this race. And the funny thing is, you don't even see him pushing the car away too much, isn't he? He's just cruising around the track, just being as mildly conservative as he can be, but still retaining good lines. That's important. And most importantly is not overdoing on the steering input. Basically just flicking the car in, you know, just making sure no major corrections during the transition of the corners. And that's one thing you really want in the Lotus. Not a lot of over rotation just to keep the car on the track.
Just take a look at this from the helmet, by the way. It looks like in terms of the viewpoint here, that yes, it's closed faced and builds up a lot of stuff on your visor. In this era, realistically, it's open face. And this is something where you can adjust, obviously, in the vision settings. You don't have the ability to get a tear-off early in this car, in turn. So if you get stuff with your eyes, good luck. You have goggles for that, at least.
True. Actually, you're saying, the full face. Actually, full face, if I remember correctly, was 1968 when Dan Gurney actually was the first driver to record
Yeah.
a full-on helmet. I don't think there was the visor back then. I think it was just a full-on helmet with the goggles on, but it's still insane to think about how also safety improved from the early days of you just driving with the cap and goggles, then going from a head helmet to goggles, and then the full helmet with goggles, and then just the visor up on top of it.
But remember, the model essentially is of when the car first came out, the year prior to that, 1967. Yep. This car did race for multiple years. And hearing that Jay Becker meatball flag, he's out of the race. Coming up soon to the 420. The party is done.
I don't know, fortunate.
Trying to pick up
what happened.
Yeah, Jay Becker on screen right now. Apparently, didn't really have contact with the wall, but remember, there's a lot of bounces to the track. He's already used the one faster pair. If he hit the ground too hard and it broke the chassis, that's the race. Yeah, he broke something chassis, I think, from one of the bumps.
That car doesn't look stable.
Yeah, that's a very clear sign if he is. That squiggle, there we go. Yeah, that's a good sign that the car's done.
Yeah. Oh, I think that left side, I think the suspension might be slightly caved in more than the other side. I could be deeply wrong right there.
At the very least, he's going to be lucky if he makes it all the way around, and at the very least, no faster pair available. He used that at the midway point. He's already said, well, good race, boys. Looks like I got a faster pair. I'm probably going to be done now. So, that will take him out a second, and in turn, very likely relegate or really promote Mike Wagner to a Team 1-2 for Evolve. He is in line to make the pass once the 420 comes in.
Which is insane to think about, that Wagner came all the way at the back, just keep it kept it clean, avoided the incident lap 1, and now being awarded with a P2. But the question is, can he hold that P2 though? There is Northway, and we see Northway has really good pace around the track. It's just that, does he have time enough to reach Wagner and make that overtake? Because Wagner is fast as well. The gap is still stabilized at 12 seconds. That is important for Wagner with nearly 5 laps to go.
So expecting the 420 to at least lose multiple spots here. And that's a good way to make sure your race is fully done. Well then, so that's a good way to make sure instead of a small meatball, it's a full one. I guess that's a way to say I'm done.
I'm just gonna say in German, mein Gott. Well?
Yeah, I mean, good on him to get it out of the barrier, but I mean, that was 60, 70, that was 60 plus miles an hour into the Armco. Let's take a break. About 5 to go when we come back.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back once again for today's coverage of the Major Series. It's second split in the Pacific region here on Grid Vision. Justin Prince, Renzo Bonder with you. Austin John Shaw producing. Shane Vickery so far has been able to lead 6 of the 9 laps complete. Coming up to close out lap 10 in the next couple of seconds. The lead right now, 52 seconds. That's over Robert Northway. That's because just in the past 15 seconds, Mike Wagner threw away a second place run with this. And Northway nearly threw away the whole race with these.
Well, here's Wagner around once. Medical
Oh
helicopter.
my.
Medical helicopter.
And we're under the track. Well then, Mike Wagner sent to the underworld, so to speak. And he's obviously in the pit lane from that. Let's see another one more time.
Medical helicopter. Medical helicopter. Medical helicopter.
I think he's the helicopter.
Maybe. I can tell you one thing. He did. You can actually see I can actually say he's seen the Undertaker.
And that is how you really crash out in style. Back to live. Northway had several major slides over the past lap, but it doesn't matter. He's in second by right now, nearly 10, 11 seconds over Bryce Roberts now. So as he starts his 11th lap right here, Northway just needs to survive to get a podium.
I think you said the perfect words right there, right, Justin? He
Yeah.
just needs to survive.
He doesn't have a fast repair either now, so that's going to be critical to make sure he keeps the car clean. The drivers yet to come down to pit lane include Vickery, Roberts, Barber, Elder, Hutchison, Fletcher, Sherburne, and Trozen. Everybody else is coming at least once. A couple drivers have had to come in at least 2 times. On the bright side, if you're fans of Wayne Taylor, he has fixed the car and is passing drivers out of the race because he fixed the meatball flag and then said, you know what, I'm just going to get the spots and then go from there. This has already picked him up at least 1 spot in Jimbo Pfeiffer.
That's good, and he's gonna pick up more spots from Thomas Anderson. And eventually, he's gonna pick spots also from Wagner. So definitely gonna finish within the top 20. That's for sure. So you know, driving for fun sometimes does give you a few perks.
That's why you never give up if you want to battle for a championship. Best way to score some points. Oh, and the spin. There we go.
I'll tell you this much: this is a level in like 7th grade. I'll grade this as a 7 in terms of 360 no scopes.
Yeah, except no scopes didn't exist back here. If you spin around like that, that basically just means you're done.
Yeah.
So as they regroup around the racetrack, just received word from Becker. The reason for the meatball flag was he barely tapped the wall. Well, walls do that.
The walls over here, they're not safe barriers like you would see in NASCAR. So if you hit the wall, that's basically day done. They're old school walls.
Very much
It's
so.
unfortunate, nevertheless.
Yeah, Armco barriers. Very, very hard to say that at the very least. There's a reason that they've kind of disappeared from highways, let alone a lot of racetracks for the modern era. You kind of like to have feet after you hit a wall. That's all I'll say to Armco, where you can very much get stuck in a wall. And you can guess where the feet would go if your car gets stuck here. That was very morbid.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything other than it was morbid. So, Vickery, meanwhile, he just seems completely comfortable. I don't know what else you can really say other than it's Vickery's day to shine.
Yeah, but there's still 4 laps to nearly 4 laps. You can say 4.5 laps to go for Vickery, so everything can happen. And but he, like I said, he's driving really smoothly that car, so I don't think anything's gonna happen to him. Just taking a quick look over here and at the calendar of the 1967 F1 World Championship. A very interesting calendar in my opinion. You had Kyalami, Monaco, Zandvoort, Spa, Le Mans, the Bugatti circuit, the not the actual full extension of Le Mans, Silverstone, Nürburgring, Mosport, Monza, Watkins Glen, and and then Mexico City, which is they said in Magdalena Mijuca, which is what people call the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Well, they actually race the Mexican Grand Prix nowadays.
It's crazy how times have really changed, you can really
Yep.
say. Especially in terms of the racing landscape, in terms of what GPs have come and gone. And in turn, a lot of times, based on just who's on the starting grid, we've seen the rise in modern times now of the Netherlands now getting the racing back with the return of the Zandvoort, for example. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with the rise of Max Verstappen's success. In fact, at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, there was racing in Sweden because there was a Swedish driver on the grid for a few years.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. I think it was. I want to say it might have been. There was Ericsson, the most recent one, but I think in the entire history we had Lundgren, we have Bonnier, we had Ronnie Peterson. Actually, they had I think they had a race in Sweden at a Understorp because of Peterson.
Yeah, 11 drivers total have come from that nation alone, by the way. But it just so happened at the time it actually did happen. You're talking about how it was an unofficial race, in fact had a Formula 2 race in Sweden for a long time, before it became a points race for a while, including being exactly where the Brabham fan car tried to make a start.
Yep. It's interesting how innovative the 60s and 70s were, right? If you think about it, right? From these more, what can you call it? The very rudimentary cars, going from the ground effect Lotus 79, then the Lotus 72, and so many other increments to the Tyrrell six-wheeler, right? And then you had the Brabham fan car and so many other attempts of innovations to what is nowadays the modern F1 cars. Bar the paint job. I'm looking at you, Alpine, by the way. Um, and it's insane to think about how innovative the 60s and 70s were just because of that.
It's just funny enough as well, when touching upon that talk about the modern innovations, a lot of them are of course following the same template, having to follow at least the same guidelines. But even today you find rooms for innovation, whether it's the measurements of the exact way your mirrors go, or how the baseboards and floors go, or better yet, the movement of no side pods being a thing again.
Is anyone trying to know side pods? Because I remember
Mercedes.
did they bring that again?
Well, Red Bull was testing it apparently, but let's see a slide. You've seen on the cameras a little bit of a. Oh, that was
Whoa.
nearly a race end there.
Yeah, that a minor scrape to the wall over there. I think for Norway that would have been a race ender.
Yes, indeed, and instead, keep on going. Of note, Sherburne made the same mistake, and he's got a meatball flag to serve. So Sherburne, you put on the list of already drivers who have had to duck down to a pit lane in this. Oh boy, that's a good cut to a live squiggle. That's a replay, I should say. Welcome to the new replay graphic module that doesn't have a transition.
Whee!
And that's Sherburne.
Well, he definitely burned his car into the wall at Flugplatz right there. Another victim claimed.
That's why that car's already gone in for the fast repair. Off and away. So, already down to about an hour, 20 minutes worth of racing when you think about the timing. We touched upon the classic looks taken on by most. There is really one, maybe two teams that took the modern approach. Interesting, the design concept for a fusion with Elder, if we can go to the 115. Seen that car a couple times? It's a mixture, if you look at the graphic design for them this race, of the periodic table and Photoshop. Well, it's old school would be you think it's the periodic table or the 1960s and 70s fonts. New school, you say that's Photoshop, that's Adobe Creative Cloud, stuff like that.
I'll tell you that much. The mix of that livery and things like that, very suggestive. Periodic table element. Being chosen for the car.
I didn't even notice that. I gotta double check what actual element that is.
Number 70. Element. Actually,
Element,
it's not
element number 70.
Is Ytterbium.
I don't know why they chose to put 70. Yeah, Terbium, which is YB. I don't know the significance of
Poetic
this 70.
license.
What?
Poetic license. I just go with poetic license.
Or it was whatever was on the template, and they're like, what is this? I guess we'll do this. I am trying to look up what that element is, by the way. Apparently, it is a type of silvery, soft, ductile, raw earth metal. Rare earth metal. And that doesn't help explain anything other than it looks silver. This is not a silver race car. The only thing silver are the axles.
Could you say the same for the Mercedes car? Because there's no silver in that car nowadays.
That's actually a solid point. It's more so black and tealish.
Sorry, it's not black, it's carbon, because nowadays, which team in F1 actually has the balls, Ferrari, other than Ferrari itself, to put up livery in their cars that does have black in it?
I mean, black gets hot. Well, temperature-wise, I mean, because I am... Oh, by the way, I believe one of your competitors slash teammates or somebody is saying hello.
Yeah, one of my team is actually the paint. We could grab his mind as it doing paints, because actually he makes the paints for my team. He's one of the paint makers or livery makers for my team. So hello, Bizine.
Livery making, you can very much argue, is a very difficult art on the service in some cases, though, because you not only have to, be able to design the template. That's the easy part. You also have spec maps, and also have to be on top of every time there's an update. You very likely could have your entire paint break.
Yeah, it's like I self-proclaim not to be an expert painter. I do liveries from time to time. I actually do more liveries for Max Pants, just for the memes. But I know for a fact I cannot. If my life depended on making a livery, then good luck. I'm probably gonna be dead in the water. I cannot make a livery from the life out of me.
Funnily enough, everybody's at least made one or two.
True.
Like, funnily enough, believe it or not, would you believe that a car that I randomly just made back in 2014-15 still has 3 people using it? It's
besides yourself?
I'm not using it anymore. It's for a 2013 Chevy SS. Basically, it's just a Canadian flag on the hood, Canadian flag on the bumper, and it's red. That's it.
Oh, Canada.
Turns out people love Canadian flag things.
I was going to say, do they love seeing the maple leaf of your flag more than they see like a double latte and at Tim Hortons and poutine?
I
and
mean,
maple syrup, of course.
Well, maple syrup, everyone likes maple syrup. Oh
Whoa.
my goodness, that scared me.
That scared me a little bit. You know what? I never had maple syrup in my life.
I mean, the funny thing is, there's real maple syrup now these days. But
Actually
also,
made out of maple.
yes, but most of the quote unquote syrup is basically breakfast syrup, which is not real maple syrup. The price difference is $10 between the real and the maple quote unquote syrup.
That's some would call that a thievery. I would say.
I mean, we sell bacon in boxes.
Oh,
No, seriously.
uh,
It the best option for pricing on bacon is not cold, but in the normal shelving aisles in boxes.
that is just weird. But then again, you guys live. It's North America. Like there's a lot of things in North America that don't make sense. I'm not just talking about USA, but also Canada in a few spots. But don't get me wrong, I love Canada. I want to visit Canada one day. Maybe in the Olympics, in the World Cup. We'll see. But anyway, coming back, it's like here in Portugal they don't do that because they sell the bacon cold in small packs.
I mean, they still do that. It's just it costs $10.
Here they cost like €1.
I feel very sad now. Thank you. It. By the way, we're not going to go into the conversation of the majors for second split with under 3 laps to go on the economics of housing and food. That's a story for Facebook, after all.
Yes.
So, looking back to Northway, gap right now very much insurmountable, but very much so in the clear for second. Coming to 2 to go this time.
And Vickery shows no signs of slowing down, and he's keeping that car on the track. So, safe is good. Safe is sound, and so far he's going to be awarded with a very, very big win as he just goes up the Hoa Act, going now into Hedvig's Hoa. So it's all down to the third sector of the track, and then go to the go. That's pretty much what you need for an exemplary drive from Vickery.
By the way, Josh Wolf, and notice two of the ones those who crashed earlier, just crashed again. He's got a meatball flag, and this is likely the race he had the first fast repair to use from the massive one on lap 1. And now likely day done for the 314. What else can you say? Let's see what happens. Yep, that's a broken wheel.
Yeah, I want to look because we caught the spin and we didn't catch what caused the spin. Oh, car was already loose going down to Vipperman.
And he already knows what's happening, already out of the car, takes the tow, and off and away. So not that great. And funnily enough, this is with the team change coming into this week, it appears. Because for the longest time, he was in the TFR colors. Now he's in Sector 5 colors. And that wheel wants to fly away. Well, like I said, new damage model makes things interesting. The tire wanted to do a dance.
The Tark, no, I'm not gonna go. I had a thought, but I'll keep that thought to myself. 2.2 laps to go.
I see you're counting down the ways for the lap.
It's because I want to get myself in the game, because otherwise this thought I have is gonna stick to my head.
Oh, hold
and
on.
I'm probably gonna have to say it.
think we've just had another crash, and this one involves the podium. Bryce Roberts, just in the past few moments, also just took the tow with Sebastian Jackson within seconds apart. Roberts no longer on the podium. He's out of the race.
I was wondering how Barber got into third place out of the blue.
Remember, all it takes is one hit to the wall. Roberts already having at least one hit before these carousels. That was enough, it looks like, to say, you know what? Axle's broken, I gotta park it.
That looks like there was a crash prior to the carousel.
It wasn't. 3 different times, according to live timing, he hit the wall. Here's one of them. And then Sebastian Jackson also amongst those out. Very similar colored cars. Both of those team cards are out now.
Unfortunate, heartbreaking with 2.5 laps to go for the number 21. So, just Peugeot feelings.
And that's where Jackson got it for the tire barrier. Again, they did it within 7 seconds apart to tow it.
Oof.
So back to live. So that leaves Vickery still your leader, Northway second, but it's Gavin Barber by nearly, in fact, more than 20 seconds on the podium. And at this point, Barber better find some bubble wrap, wrap that car in said bubble wrap, keep it safe, because he is now the second highest running of those yet to use a faster pair, and that's been a cursed spot as of late.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Apparently there's a curse. I don't know what curse it is. If you are in the podium spot, you are not due to make it out alive without some, damage or thing like that. Wait, Vickery used the fast repair?
No, he hasn't. Vickery has not, to clarify.
Okay.
Northway has. Now, interestingly enough, remember, some drivers are still on recovery drives from the fast repair groupings. The more crashes that happen, the more this helps, say, the 11 of Brenton Foster, who, remember, set the personal best lap of the race for the field. He's already made a pass in the past lap on Trojan. Now he's got William Fletcher in front, and he's trying to send his car ahead.
Has to find the right opening. You're not gonna find over here at Hotzenbach. It's just way too tight. So I think if you want to do an overtake, it just has to be after fluke plots, as the car nearly makes contact with the engine alternator, I think, from what it looks like, and the axles off Fletcher right there in front of him.
Foster looks very fast. And again, both of them going all 4 tires off, trying to keep the grip on the race cars. This is exactly where Foster seems to just have the better acceleration. Right tucked in, but nowhere to take the pass yet. Now nearly a checkup. That was Fletcher letting him pass. Fletcher nearly caused a crash from that.
Ooh-wee, I'm not gonna lie, I nearly had a heart attack moment right there. My heart nearly stopped for a moment.
So in the clear. But the problem with that, every time we've seen a major check like that, it's almost like it takes 4 or 5 corners to get the momentum back in the straight line. Yeah. Brett Trojan is now in striking distance himself, especially if Fletcher goes off the track like that moment again.
Yeah, just not having the best moment right there, the number 28, and you can see Trojan coming in real quick, so Fletcher could go for 1 for 2 positions lost in just a few sequence of corners.
Yeah, Trojan just sees much better and right now to send deep. He was 3 seconds quicker last time by compared to Fletcher. And now Fletcher might be in a spot where he has to let 2 cars go in the span of 2 sectors at the rate this is shaping up.
No
not,
dice.
yeah, just not in the prime position, obviously, to make a pass, and this is the toughest part again. You know you're faster, you know you can make a pass, but eventually, it's to where it says, you know what, I'm getting held up here, but at the same time, if you try and force it, especially this late, you're not finishing. Straight up, you're not finishing if you crash from here, if you take a tow.
Yeah, over here the tow is nearly a full lap around the track. It's like 6 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. So you really don't want to be caught off guard, going in a dead move, like an overtake around X Mula or something like that, and crash the car and basically end your race in a very bad fashion.
Oh, it takes that slide, and then bye-bye race car, after all. In turn, now Fletcher seems to have found his footing again, while Trojan has seemed to lose his footing in this sector. You touched a bit about some of the aerodynamic package. Not something you think about with the car from 1967, as Trojan nearly sends the car into the wall and nearly breaks the aerodynamics built like a brick into a brick wall.
Yep. Scary moment right there, but manages to live one more time. Actually, this is kind of funny. You were saying about, the cars with wings and downforces. Actually, you could say the first car, with downforce and wings, even though it was slightly simple, probably would have been the Lotus 63 that was
Yeah.
implemented in the 1969 season before the 72 came, and eventually the 79 came. I think 1979 came in 1976, if I remember correctly. So it's insane to think about. It was that start of the movement of having those wings and things like that, but over here, no, we just had the mechanical grip, and that's pretty much it.
White flag, by the way, waving last time at the stripe for victory. This is the final time around. He is about 6 or 7 minutes away from securing his first ever win in the Major Series, regardless of the split. Vickery right now up by 49 seconds. Quite simply, just finish the race. He's actually slowing his pace down by about a couple seconds right now with how big the margin is.
Yeah, now you can take your feet off the gas, don't push the car away too much, and just relax. But we've seen, right, and time again through history, right, of, relaxing the foot a little bit, just being very cautious on the approach that it can be deadly. Talked to Ayrton Senna when he was leading with McLaren in Monaco, so different races, different venues, but the tightness of the track and the dangerous aspect of the track was pretty much one the same, despite not being as big in Monaco like it is in the Nürburgring.
And funnily enough, the last time we had a classic style race where something crazy happened on the final lap was at the French countryside, back prior to the pandemic. Not sure if you remember back then, one of the moments in the Lotus 79s, I believe it was back then, crash on the final lap for the top two drivers. And it involved one of the most sportsmanlike drivers in the field. Can't remember the exact names off the top of my head, but here's where it became interesting, got into the iRacing top 10s. Sportsmanship side was, I'm going to let the car I just wrecked right by, let him have the win instead. The problem is, Lorenzo, the driver trying to let the time by didn't realize the driver already was out of the race with the meatball flag. And that's how we had a sprint to the finish after 40 seconds gave up on the final lap, because the person who caused the crash wanted to let the car he crashed win instead, and instead a bystander just about stole the win. Now, great sportsmanship, but also at the same time, it's almost overkill.
Overkill is an understatement. It's like the good. There is a certain level to your good intentions.
Yes. Now for victory, we're not expecting that to happen today unless a random car just somehow gains, I don't know, all 15 laps at once, or Northway teleports to the rear end and then something spinny happens. There's no traffic around. It's been a perfect race. 11 laps led, like at least 11 to 12 by the time this race is done for Vickery.
Yeah, the domination from start to finish. Never looked back. Never had a. I'm not gonna say had a compromise in this race, but because he had a fight with Foster and also had a fight with Backer, but early on. But after those two went out, it just has been no look back and just drive forward. Just keep your line straight. Just keep your head in the game, and now being awarded with a very very earned win. I think this first in majors history
Yes.
competition.
He just needs to survive. That's the critical thing. It's about trying to keep that survival. By the way, Timothy Klaus has had another spin. For those wanting the incident tracker, he didn't hit anybody at least this time. Let's take a look, and he did say on the radio, I was trying to figure out how am I going to look by the 19? That's away. There's the 19.
Yeah, not the best, not the worst way for you to get out of the track. It was slightly dangerous, but it's a good way nevertheless. He didn't compromise anyone.
I mean, it's almost become a phrase of, since straight up a rally race with Jettas, where one lap car decided, you know what, I'm going to wreck to move out of the way. Wrecking out of the way is a thing. It's crazy how common it is, but it's a thing.
Yep, true.
Vickery still a couple minutes away from victory, by the way. And it has been a perfect round for the most part. One of a few drivers not to make any contact or mistakes. He hasn't had the fastest lap. Foster set that fast lap by 4 seconds, by the way. But he has had the cleanest race. And what can you say? Stability, very critical here compared to raw speed, where one twitch can mean backflips.
And then prove that speed kills. So stability is always the way to go over here. You don't have to be the fastest. If you're fast and you're consistent and you're safe, it's much better than being the fastest driver around and kill yourself just because you're searching for that gap, for that 10th extra in the lap, just because you want a hot lap around the track.
Shane Vickery down Doniger Hoa can celebrate from here. Only a couple more corners to deal with. He played it conservative to close out the run, but today he's been outright dominant. It's not been about who's the fastest in terms of lap time. It's not been today about who's the fastest in terms of getting to the front. It's about who can survive and tame the green hell. Shane Vickery, for the first time in his career, wins the Major Series by conquering the green hell. So Evolve goes to victory lane and split 2 today. Robert Northway in second, just moments away from a podium.
Yeah, just surviving, coming down the Bilston Bridge and then going into Tier Garden. Had a few close calls here, Justin. But the important thing is, close calls are not death calls. So here it comes, final few corners for the 943. Just have to brake the car and keep that thing straight through the corners. There you go. One more corner here, Justin. P2 for Robert Northway.
From 14th to 2nd today, Robert Northway survives craziness and a faster pair needed. Got the best finish out of those in that category. Meanwhile, for Barber, is amongst those who had to slow up a fair bit in the opening going because of the big crash, but very quietly just rode his race on his own, and everybody else, even after passing him, started falling apart, started doing the backflips referred to, such as those we've seen from Wolf, such as those we've seen from others like Thomas and more. But today, Barber P2 kept it steady to get a top 3. Gavin Barber finishes 3rd.
Yeah, now Alder is from Fusion Racing, so took a little bit of a issue starting at the back, but nevertheless survives the whole ordeal. And Gavin now Alder finishing 4th, and right behind, not far behind, you're gonna see. I think that's a back marker because 5th is gonna be going for Wayne Hutchison.
It's almost like a marathon, more than a sprint today. It literally is. In fact, including how the finish plays out, how you describe that of a marathon. This is Hutchison. Close at a top 5, went from 22nd to get here. And just like that, it's a top 5 for Wayne Hutchison. You know what happened to Mr. Backflip, by the way? Mike Wagner is currently amongst those who finish in the top 7 behind this car. This is Brenton Foster coming from a crash from the lead. Mike Wagner next on track. Still finished 7th after a vicious crash.
At least he found the promised land. That's what he want.
So we still have a lot of cars to cross the line, about 2 minutes worth for some of the drivers before they finish. We'll take a break. So as we get set to look at the race results, when we come back, we'll look at how they finished out. Everybody just about finished. You're watching Grid Vision for the Majors. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage of the Major Series as the field just about finished. In fact, Timothy Klaus and Brian McGreevy just about to finish things up here from Germany. They're the last 2 cars to finish. 4 minutes and 20 seconds back at least from your race winner. Everybody else is done. And with this last of the cars, you can basically say all your lead lap finishers are done. Anybody else still running in this race? Well, is this car. No, seriously, this is just the last car running. Wayne Taylor blew it up on the final lap because why not?
I think he's trying to send a message to Greenpeace, but I could be very wrong.
In what way is polluting the air with a blown motor Greenpeace?
I mean, he's protesting against Greenpeace. I don't know.
Yeah, he's had it blown up for a while, by the way. So, not the way Taylor wanted to finish, but it did get him a few spots in the end. Now, all cars are done, which means we can now show you unofficial race results in full here, with the grid solidified and the slots finished up. Let's take a look at how they finished out today for the Major Series from Germany, as Wayne Taylor tests out the skills of the motor. Shane Vickery put up the skills to be able to come away with the victory today. That's around 7th on back. You see, I'm not sure on the organization side, but we can tell you Shane Vickery with the win over Northway, Barber, Elder, and Hutchison. Foster, Wagner, Fletcher, Trojan, and Sherburne were your top 10, Lorenzo.
Yeah, then we go Roberts and a few other cars that it's hard for you to get around, but I think running cars, we have pretty much, I think, 18 cars finishing up in this race. Some of them back markers and some not. Like Mark Santana, like Jake Fox, Nick Kuhn, in this race. Sebastian Jackson, Ryan Steele, being a few laps back, but didn't manage to finish. Bryce Roberts in 11th. So good to know that everybody still just tried to go to make it the way to their best all these 15 laps in this race.
Let's look at some of the results there. That is a new one in terms of scoring. By the way, Wayne Taylor is still going. Eventually he'll realize the race is over. No matter how hard he tries, he's no longer being scored. Shane Vickery, though, you can count him as being scored your race winner. Shane, for the first time in your Major Series career, you're a winner. It comes in second split tonight, but you put up a dominating run. How does it feel?
Oh, it felt great. Yeah, it was. That was a tough event. That's probably the hardest iRacing event I've ever taken part of. So I'm happy to get it. I'm happy to get the win. But I'm happy to be done.
What was kind of your mind's reaction to seeing both other cars that ran away from the pack with you after the big crash behind you, then in turn 2 have everything fall apart?
Yeah, well, I mean, my plan going forward was to try to avoid any big crashes. So starting at the front really helped that. And then I figured Jay and Brenton would be quick. Brenton had some serious pace. So my plan was I wasn't gonna fight them. I was just gonna try to stay behind them, and just kind of maintain a pace. And they, when they both went off in the matter of about 3 corners, I kind of thanked my blessings and took off.
So that being said here, good run overall, a great night in terms of what you can say for the winning side of things. But the next time out, it'll be all the way in April when we go touring car racing in Australia. Your thoughts on that? And I'd rather say TCR racing because iRacing now has that license.
Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of the TCRs. Front wheel drive doesn't really doesn't come to me as quickly as others, but I really like Mount Panorama. I think it's a great track. I think it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to trying to get back into that top split.
Any thoughts, any thank yous you want to give here after this win?
Well, thanks to the whole Evolve team. We've got quite an army of cars out here these days, so there's a lot of help going forward through everybody. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting this. You guys always do a great job. I always enjoy watching back. And I'll just thank my wife and kids for putting up with me doing this every night.
Well, once again, Shane, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you very much.
Shane Vickery bringing his Lotus 49 to victory here today. Gav Barber able to find his way on the podium. He's with Lorenzo.
Yeah, so Gav, man, talk us through about this race from your perspective. At one place, top 5, then you're thinking, okay, this is where I'm gonna be, but everybody else in front of you just decided to have another idea and then grab a P3 at the end of things.
Yeah, that was just awesome. The very beginning, I started in P8, and there was a tap between 2 guys up in front that just blocked the track, basically. And while I was slowing down to give everybody room, I got hit from behind. But these cars are tough, so I got hit probably 2 times, turned around, and just rotated and finished the first lap, I think, at about P16. So then just had to charge hard from that point. People were pretty good and they were letting us through, which was nice because I think it was such a tough race. Nobody really wanted to fight that hard. So, that was a lot of fun. But I found if I was putting pressure on people, they'd just start making mistakes. So I just had to be careful the whole time. In my last 2 laps, when I got everybody else had fallen off the track and I got the opening for the podium, I just lifted off. But gee, hard to concentrate when you get like that.
No, absolutely, and I figure it has to be hard. But going on a kind of like of a segment question of sorts, you were thinking about maintaining concentration, and I'm saying it's hard. How difficult do you think would be the approach to drive the Lotus 49, which is a more mechanical driver style car than a downforce space style car in a track that let's just say is the home of building cars, things like that, and demands a little bit of downforce through the entirety of 22 kilometers.
Look, I'm getting on in the tooth a little bit, so you know, driving older cars is something I quite enjoy. But you've really got to shift the way you drive, because these things have got to be braked in a straight line, and they'll actually turn under power. So you can actually almost turn out on the corner, because they dive down in the right or the left corner, depending of the car, as you're pulling out, and it really changes your thinking for driving. They don't brake very well, so you know, you've just got to learn to adapt. So it was you know, and then stay consistent, because they bounce all over the place. And I don't know whether you know, but I've got a motion seat, and my goodness, this track, these cars, what a rough ride the whole way.
I gotta figure, you know, I think some of those bumps, I think you're probably gonna feel it in your rig 100%. But now shifting from, you know, the Nordschleife and these old cars, we're gonna go into modern cars the next time by. We go in April, and I think you're gonna go close to your homeland of Australia, if I remember. If I might be wrong where you live, Gavin, but are you fancy of driving TCRs around the Mount Panorama?
Look, Mount Panorama is probably my favourite track. I love this track itself as well, because it's so complicated and long. But yeah, Mount Panorama is awesome. I only live about 300 k's from the mountain. I've driven around it in my Toyota 86. You know, it's an awesome track. Of course, I raced recently in the 12-hour there as well, or a 12-hour, so I'm fairly familiar with it.
No, absolutely, and I wish to see you drive the TCRs around Mount Panorama in 1 month time. But for the time being, I'll let you relax after this grueling race, Gavin, and enjoy your podium.
Thank you very much. Thanks to you guys for doing this as well. Awesome job.
Once again, your top three, Vickery, Northway, and Barber. I'd like to thank Gavin Barber along with Shane Vickery for taking time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. That being said, Lorenzo, as we look to close things out today, your final thoughts on the action?
Didn't expect to see that crash onto lap 1, but I think it kind of dictated the race a little bit. But showed up that if you fear the force, it bit you back, and unfortunately for a few drivers it kind of did, but provided some really good racing nevertheless. And Vickery deserved that win, that you would call Max Verstappen-esque win in comparison to the whole group. Now waiting for the mountain to come.
Yeah, Mount Panorama next up with the TCRs when it comes to the Major Series. That action once again take place in April. Be sure to tune in here on Grid Vision. With that being said, it's time to say goodbye from Germany. For our producer Austin Darbyshire, for my co-announcer Lorenzo Bonder, and for everyone else at Grid Vision, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. You've been watching the Major Series, Pacific Region, Split 2 from Germany.